Born and raised in Southeast Washington, D.C., this artist went from a college freshman to being in a unique band, the Pleasure Band, that went from entertaining in clubs to performing in sold-out arenas. From the modest stages of Marion Department of Recreation Showmobile as a child to the Arsenio Hall Show to Black Girls Rock, she has graced stages around the world with acts such as Salt and Peppa, Be'la Dona, High Five, and Crystal Waters. She is a college-educated businesswoman that currently performs with the all-women band Be'la Dona. Known as Kool Keys, which also happens to be her business brand, because of her mastery on the keyboards. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Claudia Rogers. Claudia Rogers, Miss Kool Keys, 88 Fingers. Any other nicknames you got?
That's enough.
Nobody call you 88 Fingers?
Well, a lot of people call me, what is the name? Claude. It's just easier to say Claude than Claudia.
Okay, Claude.
Yeah.
I like Claudia's prettier.
Thank you. I think so too. It's a Latin name.
Okay, all right. So I'd like to welcome, first of all, just want to say how honored and humble I am that you graced this session here with me.
Wow, Kato.
And we can do a one-on-one thing, whereas we can talk about things that inspire others, things that inspired us for the purpose of trying to inspire others.
Wonderful. I'm equally as honored to be here, and I'm really grateful that you called upon me to interview me.
Okay, cool. All right, now then we got that out the way. First, I want to start off a scenario, a picture, right? See if I can take it back a little bit. I'm remembering a particular night at a spot in Sea Pleasant, Maryland called the Pick Center.
Yes.
Okay? And what I'm remembering is, I was playing with a band. I don't think I was playing that particular night. But I was coming in, but there was a couple of bands on the card. And I remember hearing about this new group. And it was, so this new group was supposed to perform there. And there was such a mystique about it because when the group came in, they were almost shuttled in when nobody could get to them. They were all girls, so all the guys wanted to get to them, but they were very protected. It was almost as if they were, I guess the way, a big celebrity would be. You usher them in, you almost got them covered up. And we see them coming in out of the van or something where they were in, and then onto the stage, but then right after the stage, they just shuffled, out just like that.
Yeah.
This was a group called Pleasure.
Yes.
Right. Do you remember, did this bring any memories back to you?
It does. That was really kind of what catapulted me into the limelight. I grew up not knowing and not thinking that I was going to be a musician for my lifetime, or that was going to be a part of my passion and purpose. And next thing you know, just in the sequence of things, I kept getting called to play music and to do shows. And I got a very important call one day from Roy Battle, who you guys probably know Roy Battle, who's a phenomenal keyboard player, and he's been a trainer and mentor to me. He called me and he said, "Hey, Claudia," he said, "I know about this group that they're putting together. It's all female, and they're going to start off playing go-go, and then they're probably going to move into some other genres, and I'd love for you to be a part of it." And I had the opportunity to work with Roy Battle with the Department of Recreation Showmobile under Mayor Barry at the time. So I had worked with him 2 summers, and it's just all an affiliation and networking that you end up places where you never thought you'd be. But that's kind of how it took me to that point where I was with those girls and I was in the original Pleasure Band. And when you were describing that scenario, all I can think of is the illusion of fame or the illusion of this is something that like nobody else has done, and this is sacred, and this is like, superstars. And I think that there is a lot of drama, a lot of dramatic, a lot of like, let's do it this way, let's grab attention, that you have to do in order to sell a product. Okay. It has to be more than just what you're doing, but how are you going to sell it? What's the image going to be? Okay.
So that takes me to, you brought that, we bring that, and we're going to come back, but I want to go back even further.
Oh.
I want to know about Claudia.
Okay.
Okay. Claudia, I want to show me a picture of this little girl who, for some kind of reason, for whatever reason, is inspired to play music. And I know it happened before Pleasure. Something brought you to that Showmobile. I know about the Showmobile. I used to work on the Showmobile as well. That was our summer job.
Yes.
For the DC Summer Youth Employment. Tell me, picture me in the beginning, if we watching a movie, how does that movie start with Claudia, a little girl named Claudia being inspired by music?
Great question. So the little girl named Claudia, growing up in Southeast, could not stop playing and practicing the little organ in the basement. There was a little organ in the basement with a fish tank, and then at one point we had a bird. So we had a bird cage, and I stayed in the basement practicing every day, all day. I was taking lessons by my teacher, Neville Otley, who now has a school, Otley Music School. Mm-hmm. And I was her first student. I was literally, my sister and I were her first students. And
How old were you?
I was 4.
4, okay.
I was 4. She taught us in her apartment in Silver Spring. And Claudia always took things seriously. Anything she did, she wanted to like excel, and she wanted to perfect, and she wanted to do it better than average. And I wasn't necessarily a competitive person, like I'm trying to outdo this person or trying to outdo that person, but I think I just reached really high for myself. Okay. I set the bar high for myself. So when I embarked on learning to play piano, I said, I'm going to learn this keyboard, I'm going to learn this piano, but I'm going to really practice and hone my craft. And everything that Nevi, my teacher, gives me, I'm going to take it and I'm going to make it better, and I'm going to really just, I was just very, very driven.
How were you that disciplined so young? You know what I'm saying? That's really interesting.
That is interesting. I just believe that I got it from my mom. My mom had that driven spirit. She always just achieved higher things, or she just always reached further. She was studying to be a doctor. And she just was always working to just, really get to the next level. And I think I saw that in her. Right. And I think that I mimicked that. And I said, you know what? Not necessarily that I'm trying to be like mommy, because she was going in the medical field. Right. I believe that, again, I wanted to be good at whatever I did. And I was disciplined. That's the word. You have to have discipline if you're going to achieve and you're going to be successful in what you do. You have to not give up, and you have to be motivated. And sometimes at a young age, you get, kind of sideswiped. You kind of, you lose interest, and you have to find something to kind of keep your interest there. And the one thing that did was the people that I played for. Because my teacher kept me in competitions, and she kept me playing for I even flew to Jamaica, where my parents are from, and played at West Indies College. I did a lot of these things at a young age, played in church, did special, duets with my sister in church. Everywhere I went, people whispered to me, "You're really good. No matter what you do, don't stop playing." And that's the mantra. That's what I heard. Never stop playing. You're really good. Never stop playing. So I took that seriously, and I was like, I'm not going to give it up.
So the Showmobile. So we bring it to the Showmobile, and you're how old? This your summer job?
Yes.
So how did you know about the Showmobile? For example, did you know Raymond Gray?
No.
Okay.
So my music teacher, I'm laughing because Mr. Brooks, Everett Brooks, he was my music teacher at the time. I was going to Banneker.
Okay.
Even though when I was going to school, I kind of stayed off the music scene.
Right.
He heard that I could play. He was like, "Come, you're gonna play with us. You're gonna play." And he had me play with some of the jazz band, on certain pieces. And he is the one that, after seeing how good I was and how disciplined I was, he was like, what are you doing for the summer? I said, oh, I'm just going to get a job, working wherever. He was like, no, you're going to work. I have the excellent job for you where you can use your gifts. You can play. Yeah. You're going to work with the DC Department of Recreation. They have a complete program. It's a review.
Right.
So they have a band, they have singers, they have dancers. And oh my goodness, that was the best experience because I think I was 15 my first year. I was 15. I was always younger in school because my birthday was in August. So I turned the next age that everybody else was, at the end.
I'm August baby.
Right. Yeah. So, I always felt like I really wanted to try to keep up with everybody else that was older than me.
Right.
And Mr. Brooks, he, Matthew Allen, Roy Battle, and Mr. Brooks, they were at that time heavily involved with the arts, Howard University, all of that was connected.
Okay.
And so Matthew Allen was a phenomenal keyboard player and pianist that taught me, him and Roy, how to transfer playing piano to keyboards.
Okay.
Because it's two different instruments.
Okay. All right. So how many years you did with...
Just 2 years with Showmobile.
Okay, Showmobile.
I was 15 and 16. Then I graduated at 16. Then I turned 17 and went to college.
Okay. And so, wait a minute. All right. So you graduated. How old were you? Had you already been to school before you started Pleasure?
No. The interesting thing is I went to Towson State in Baltimore for a semester, and I stayed there. I lived off campus, but I stayed there.
Right.
And I couldn't find a job. I kept trying to find a job, and I didn't want my parents to be burdened with, paying for school and all my expenses. I was always pretty much self-sufficient. So in my not being able to find a job, after the first semester, I came back home and I said, well, let me try to work. Because again, my parents, I didn't want to burden them. They had 3 other children.
Right.
And so I believed that was destiny. I wasn't supposed to be at Towson. Okay. Because I ended up going to Bowie State. And I ended up working. Right. I got a job in the government working. My first job was working at the National Naval Medical Center in Bethesda.
Right.
I was a typist. So I got in the government.
Still with your fingers.
Okay. Yeah. But I said, let me go another route. Let me get a job and then let me go back to school.
Right.
And literally, Kato, I'm telling you, as soon as I got that job in January, starting, working in the government, that's when I got the call in that same month to be in Pleasure. And we started practicing probably that February or March.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So before that, all right, now I'm still trying to see this picture. I'm looking at this movie.
I love the movie.
Yeah, we want to get that book too.
Yeah.
But so in between that time, had you thought about being a career musician? What did you go to Towson for?
That's a very good question. So my dreams at the time, and of course I touched and dabbled on a lot of things. I did hair. I, drew. Mm-hmm. I designed clothes. I mean, I had my hands in so many things that were usually artistic.
Right.
I really thought music was a hobby for me. Okay. I didn't know it was my passion, even with the Showmobile, even with the stuff I did at church and all that. I said, oh, well, it's just something I've done. But I literally went to school to be a business owner. I wanted to get my degree in business, and I wanted to open up a hair salon.
Okay.
So I wanted to do hair. I wanted to have the ability to do hair, but I wanted to own the salon.
Okay.
And so God was like,
you wanted to be a boss.
Yes, I did. Okay. I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur.
Okay.
From that young, but I had no idea that the entrepreneurship would be in music.
Right.
And that's the one thing people don't understand. Even though music is an art, there's a business of music too.
You better believe it. Yeah, and we're gonna get to that.
Yes.
You best believe. I'm walking. We're slow walking a little bit. Okay. I'm walking. Okay. So now, you get the call from Roy, and in comes Pleasure.
Yes.
And it's a new phenomenon on the go-go scene.
Right.
Because go-go was definitely male dominated. You had bands here. You had all kinds of bands. Hot Cold Sweat, I guess, was y'all big brother band.
Yeah, they were. Junkyard was right around the corner.
Right around the corner. Mm-hmm. I was playing with Little Benny.
Yes.
And Ray Essence, and Red Trouble, everybody was just doing their thing, EU during that time. But all of a sudden, here these all girls. And I'm going to say girls because y'all were young.
We were girls.
Y'all were very young.
Yes.
So now we back forward to that scenario I gave you of y'all walking in. First of all, how can I say this? First of all, describe to me your very first practice. Your very first meeting each other.
Okay, when we first met, I do remember that we met at Charlie Fenwick's studio in Capitol Heights, and it was
Back there off of Central Avenue.
Yeah, right by behind the 7-Eleven. Yeah. So I remember seeing all these other girls that were pretty, and saying, "Wow, what's going to happen here? Like, who's playing what? Who's doing what? How is this going to come together?" And it was like maybe 6 other girls, or maybe 5 other girls. And I was just excited. I was very excited for what was to come. I had heard a lot of talk, and I probably talked on the phone with a couple of people, but to actually be in his studio and to hear his vision. And
was the vision go-go? Did you know it was going to be go-go?
The vision that I remember was that he wanted us to start out playing go-go and kind of get our feet wet on the local scene. And then he was going to take it higher. He was going to really try to get the attention of the industry. Because back then, it was about getting a record deal. And so that's what he did. But the one thing I can say about Charlie and his camp, everything was top-notch, #1, professional all the way to the T, from wardrobe to hair. You know, his wife, Leora, she orchestrated our wardrobe, and we had this lady named Dee who did our hair. Everything we didn't have to ask or want for anything. And so I literally was spoiled coming out the gate as a musician.
So they kind of like groomed you, kind of like, who had that grooming thing going on? Motown. Yeah. Kind of had that when they brought a group in, they just groomed them and molded them and, kept them very tight and professional.
And so I never thought of it that way. But yeah, it was very much. I forgot
what it was called. It was called I have to look it up. They had a name for it. But when they brought in the Supremes, they didn't just throw Supremes on stage.
Right.
They had a whole vision and plan for them.
Yeah, we were a family. We were literally a family, and we practiced probably 2 or 3 times a week. Most of us had day jobs, so we came after work, and it was that discipline that came back in my life. Right. Discipline where I had a semester off after I graduated from Banneker. I had a semester off, and that didn't work out in Baltimore. And next thing I know, I'm practicing regularly.
Okay.
Practicing with other people.
You remember your first show?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Our first show was at Evans Grill.
Okay.
In the hood, straight hood.
Yeah. Back there.
And we were nervous. We were very nervous. We had practiced for months and months, and we had perfected this show and had a big intro. And like you said, they always drove us around in the van, and we always felt like no matter what, we were guarded and we were protected, and we were just going to come in there, kill it, and leave. And we killed it. It was good. Okay. I mean, it was worth all of the months and months of practicing.
That's what I'm saying. You touched on something, and it just hit me. And I don't know if it's the same thing now. I haven't, been on that part of the playing in the band in years. But you touched on something. Back then, bands didn't rush to come out. And you didn't even know they were practicing. Like you said, for months and months, you guys practiced. Nobody even knew about it.
That's true.
So when you came out, you didn't come out and work on getting tight. You were already tight.
Right. And that's something that a lot of bands don't do
these days. Right.
And I'm not just speaking of go-go bands. I'm talking about
just in general.
Gigs.
Everybody just comes out with the quickness.
Yeah, people just get together and they jam. And there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, it's a sense of preparation, a sense of delivery, a sense of professionalism, a sense of stage. I remember at one point our bass player was no longer with the group. So I had to take over playing bass, and I played key bass. Okay. So that was yet another thing I learned, going from playing the piano this way to playing 2 keyboards like that, and then having to play key bass, which is another technique.
All right, so that's something you learned while we're playing.
I did.
All right.
And I forgot. I literally forgot until I heard Lock It, and I was like, oh yeah, that's me playing the bass. I forgot that was something that I did.
Yeah. Okay. And so y'all were spending that much time together. Y'all were real close.
Yeah, we hung out. We hung out a lot after hours.
Right.
So after rehearsals, we would be going over each other's houses. We would be shopping. We would go to the movies. We would just hang out. We were young, no kids, no husbands.
You did Capitol Center. Every guy in the area want to be with you and all that. You have issues with that. How protective was Charlie?
He was very protective. One of my ex-boyfriends reminded me, and he got on my nerves, but he reminded me of things that I didn't remember. And he said, when we were dating, that Charlie told you guys not to bring your boyfriends to the shows. And I said, he did. And he said, yeah, you told me I can't come to your show because, it's all about, again, the illusion.
Oh, yeah.
And he didn't want to prevent guys from coming. You're selling an image. You're selling, these girls are beautiful and they can play and they might be your girlfriend one day. So keep coming and buying tickets and coming to see them, And I just was like, yeah, and I understood when he said that. I understood the reason behind it.
Okay.
Because it's almost like a national artist. If you know that she's available and single, like Janet Jackson, a lot of women have done that, kept their private lives private. Even Janet, she was married to Renee
for years.
Yeah, and nobody knew.
Right.
And it was all back then, it was all about what's not seen doesn't matter.
You think that's the same today? I wouldn't see why it wouldn't be, because your audience will change their mind. Maybe.
That's a good question. I think that it's been driven in me, or kind of, that's the foundation that I started with. So I just have continued with that. I think that there's a tactful way to do it. I think that, if you ask me, do I bring my boyfriends or significant others or whoever I'm dealing with to shows? No.
Yeah.
And I'll tell them up front, you don't have to come with it. And some of them get offended. They'll be like,
really?
Well, they think that it's sneaky, like, what are you hiding? But it's my job.
I'd be bored.
Right. And actually, to be honest, Kato, the guy that tells me, well, I'm not going to be able to come to your shows, or tells me that, well, what am I going to do at your show? I can respect him for saying that. And I can respect him for not being that guy that's like, I'm going to come to every one of your shows and I'm going to show everybody that you belong to me. That's insecurity.
You're not going to punch me in my face because I'm dancing with some girl like Mary J. Blige. But anyway, the career-minded thing, did that happen while in Pleasure? Did that start hitting you then?
I would say no.
Still not.
I would say I was just having fun. I still wanted to be young and hang out. Like, I grew up under kind of a strict religious household. So I didn't even go to the go-go until I played in the go-go. And so I still wanted to have balance where, even with me working a full-time job and then practicing with Pleasure, I had my friends that I wanted to hang out with and spend time with. So we would hang out and go to the club and do the things that I was not allowed to do when I was under my parents' strict guidance.
All right. So lots of things happening, probably happening fast. With, you playing spots, whether it be triples, whether it be wherever you play, Capitol Center a few times, some of the artists you play with. And all of a sudden, you're getting so much attention that you're really getting attention from national acts.
Yes.
And come a situation where, if anybody who know about the go-go scene know basically what happened with Pleasure. Mm-hmm. And that's a whole thing of Pleasure, basically, some of you girls leaving to do tour with Salt and Peppa. Mm-hmm. So, we right there now in this movie.
That was a curveball. It was a curveball. It was an opportunity. That's when I started being career-minded and thinking about long-term instead of, I'm having fun, I'm playing.
So was it the thought of that, to saying, wow, this could be real because somebody really paying attention? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
The thought of not just being locally successful, but taking it international.
So you never thought about doing it international before then?
I think, again, it was about getting a record deal, being national.
So it was actually, but it was with that particular.
Right. It wasn't until we met Herbie Lovebug, and that was probably at the second show. We did 2 Cap Center shows.
Right.
We met him, we connected with him, and a couple of us talked to him, and he really was interested in doing something with us. And I think we were just open. We were open. Some of us were open. Some of us didn't want to leave the nest. And that was at a point where we had to make a decision.
Right. Okay.
And that's at a point where you say, okay, I could stay right here where I'm good. Things are consistent. I'm pretty successful, and I'm being well taken care of. Or I have the opportunity to go somewhere unfamiliar, go somewhere that may take me higher, go somewhere with people who I am trusting will have my back, like these people. You know what I mean? And I don't really know, but I talk. One thing about me, people will tell you, I ask questions. I will question you and question you. I used to correct people too. Yeah. I try not to do that anymore. But I would question, people to death. And I remember talking to Herbie a lot.
Okay.
At my job, talking to him, questions, and I think really that was a blessing in disguise, meeting him, because next thing you know, being in the right place in the right time, he was trying to figure out what to do with us and flew us to New York, and he would have us hang out with him at the studio. And, he was trying to figure out, what should I do with the band? Right. And it was his first time working with a band. Like, he introduced us to all of his artists, and we were in Salt and Pepper's videos. Yeah. Next thing you know, he was like, yo, Claudia, Cheryl and Sandy, that's Salt and Pepper. They're about to go on tour. And I pitched to them a really good idea, because they've used go-go in their music. Right. They say, hot damn, I got an all-girl band. I pitched to them, yo, I know an all-girl band, and they're dope, and they're out of DC, and they're ready, and they're hungry. And, because we had opened our eyes beyond the limits that were set for us. And we said, let's see what Herbie's talking about. We were at the right place at the right time. And when he pitched to them about us being their live band, that was something that had never been done.
Yeah, that whole hip hop wasn't doing live bands.
They were doing DJs.
And I never thought about that, because I guess Salt and Pepper I always thought LL was first, but Salt and Pepper was first. Okay. And
maybe he was first with having a live band play behind him. Right. I know Salt and Pepper was the first to have an all-female live band. Okay. That's the thing that we were the first to do. And I think we started working with them in 1990.
Which is an excellent concept. Okay, so some of you guys go. All right. How did that change the dynamics?
We still remain friends, not probably as close, not probably calling and...
Right.
We didn't text back then, but I think that change, it's gonna be a little, what's that word? Uncomfortable. Okay. It's gonna be a little bit like, there were some bad feelings, there were some negative, some resentment, but I think that again, I felt that I have to keep moving forward. I have to reinvent the wheel. I can't, and I was having my own feelings about continuing to do the same thing, playing with Charlie. It was great. It was a wonderful foundation. But I think that for me, I'm always, again, that hustler, that spirit. Yeah, it's about growth. It's about expansion.
Okay. All right. So you're out there and y'all decide to do this, go ahead and do this thing with Salt and Pepper, go on the road with them. Was it a one-time thing?
No. So we rehearsed here in D.C. for like maybe 2 months. Okay. And they came here. Salt and Pepper came here, stayed in hotels. Since most of us had...
Well, they hung here a lot.
They did.
They got their hair done and stuff.
But since they found it to be more economical for them to fly here and stay here...
Instead of having y'all...
Right. Instead of flying 6 people to New York and putting us up in hotels, that made sense. So we rehearsed right here for about a month, 2 months, and it was very grueling. I mean, you would leave one job, go to the next job, and it's 8 hours both. And once we perfected the show, and the show had a lot of sequencing and a lot of stuff, I had like 5 or 6 keyboards. Now, I wasn't playing all 5 at one time, but I had different, like Herbie was very specific about the sounds.
His sounds, yeah.
The sounds that he used on the record, he needed to use or wanted to use live. So it was a lot of training, a lot of navigation, Yamaha DX7, and a lot of sampling.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I was the only keyboard player.
Okay.
A lot of bands have multiple keyboard players and organists and all kinds of stuff. I was the only one. So again, think about the foundation and think about how the discipline and me practicing and being driven, and then learning in Showmobile how to do keyboard, play keyboards and keyboard bass. Everything works together to prepare you for what's next.
Yes.
But it was phenomenal. We ended up going on a world tour that lasted, it was different tours and we had breaks, but we backed them for 3 years.
Oh, so it was 3 years? It went that long? Mm-hmm. 3 years?
It was 3 years.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Did you ever record with him? Just the live stuff?
We recorded with Herbie. We did stuff with him.
Because Herbie loved go-go. That was obvious.
Yes, he did. He stayed here, hanging out here all the time. We did videos with them. Okay. They have us in the Let's Talk About Sex video.
Really?
They have us in Independent. It's a couple of videos, just real quick splashes. Yeah. But just the experience of being able to see how they're doing it.
All right, so this tour, you're on this tour, 3 year tour, like Gilligan's Island. And you're around what age now?
I was around the 19-20 mark. Like early 20s, and the rest of the girls were of course I was probably the youngest. The rest of the girls were no more than 25.
So who all went with just you, LaShawn?
So it was LaShawn Dandy wasn't our original drummer.
She wasn't.
It was this girl named Dee.
Okay.
Dee was the drummer out the gate, and she they hired us as individuals. So LaShawn ended up staying with Pleasure.
Did she? I always thought LaShawn went.
She ended up doing some dates with us later on.
Okay.
We had Andre Scott as our bass player.
Right.
We had Jenny Jam on guitar. We had percussion, a girl named Vonnie. Vonnie used to be in Royalty.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then we had, who am I missing? Percussion, drums, bass, keys, guitar. Yeah, it was just five of us.
I don't want to put you on the spot.
It was just five of us,
all right.
I believe.
All right.
And then, of course, they had 3 background singers and 3 dancers. 2 background singers and 3 dancers.
Okay. So, y'all had y'all was a backup band. You all were a backup band.
Yeah.
So, you had the name, what did you call yourselves?
4YP, For Your Pleasure.
4YP, For Your Pleasure, 4YP. All right, so after the 3-year run, okay, and it ushers into what? Because now you're out there.
Right.
And you know how that can be when you're out there. You got to keep, I guess, bridging to something else.
Mm-hmm. One thing I wanted to add, too, about touring, Salt and Pepper, they shared everything. So it wasn't just, it's their fame and they're separate from us. Like when you said backup band, we definitely were their backup band and we played mega stadiums.
Right.
But when I say they shared their tour buses, they made it mandatory for us to go to the after parties. Like I didn't always want to hang out, but they were like, nah, you all are coming. We're going VIP, hanging out, we were a part of their entourage. Okay. So that's the one thing I loved about Cheryl and Sandy, that they didn't keep us separated from, it's just Salt, Pepper, and Spin. Right. They incorporated everybody, their whole entourage with them. And so that was a really good experience because we had a chance to taste kind of like that tour life, that good life, that, artist life.
That's what I want you to describe to me. You with the band and they got Dee Dee doing the music, spinning around doing the music, right? So did y'all have to work out together? How did that work out?
So we played most of the songs, but then there were breaks. Like their show was like a skit. So they had little...
I've never seen them in concert. Okay.
And I found a CD that... from Switzerland, actually. And you'll get to hear it. Yeah. But there were different breaks in the performance where Dee Dee or Spinderella, she would do her little stuff. And she would play sometimes on top of us. Like, you know how nowadays you'll have a drummer and a DJ on a gig. And they'll play
that's
together.
What I was saying.
That's how it was. It was kind of like... sometimes.
So when y'all practiced, she
was there. Okay. She practiced. And it was about timing. Everything is about timing. And with the DJ, she had to do her little... What do you call it? mixing, whatever you call it. She had to do that in the same time as like every 8 bars or every 16 bars or whatever, whenever she had her little...
And I'll be able to hear that on that Switzerland.
Yes, okay. And then she had her moment to shine. So when she gave us a break, when she did her little, she did her demonstration.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right, okay. All right, so you having a ball. Yeah, what are some of the countries you played in?
We played in the UK. We played in Austria, Germany, Brunei, which is an island where the Sultan lived, and he used to fly artists out there.
Y'all played for the Sultan?
Yeah, we played for the Sultan. We played in Hawaii, Japan. The list goes on. I mean, we did a lot of states, U.S. states, but we did a lot of touring overseas. Okay. And it was amazing. It was really... So
you just loving this, of course, right?
Yeah, because I'm in my early 20s and I'm getting... The good thing about being a tour artist is that it's all expenses paid and you get paid to perform.
All right. Now, forward a little bit more. Another scenario. And during this time, I was seeing, you could turn on the TV and see local artists from this circuit here. Like, I might turn the TV on and I'll see Byron Jackson with Arrested Development or something. I'll see Juju or Brandon Finley with Arrested Development or Funky Ned with Maxwell and all that. And I turn on Arsenio Hall and I see High Five. And I see what look like you.
And Jenny.
Jenny, but I see Karis.
Yes, Karis. You know what I'm saying? Amy, I think too.
Right. Mm-hmm. And so now the High Five thing is after Salt and Pepper?
Yes. So what happened was, of course, we met people while we were touring that we kept in contact with each individual person, kept in contact with different people. And the High Five thing came about. One of us stayed connected with people in the High Five camp. When we went out on our initial tour, Father MC, Big Daddy King, a couple, Tony. So the artists changed based on the tour, but at some point we toured with High Five, Salt and Pepper.
So connected with them.
Yeah, so they whoever was staying connected with their camp, they let them know, hey, High Five is looking for a band to back them on tour. So we didn't actually go out on tour with High Five. We flew to New York and we did some like pre stuff they were with Jive. And so we did some kind of like recording artist live shows in front of the people in the industry in New York at the studio. We met R. Kelly. I mean, when you're up in New York, you just run into all different people, of course, just randomly on the elevator. And we did do Arsenio Hall with Salt and Pepper and with High Five. And I would really want to say that the High Five people probably saw some of the work we did with Salt and Pepper. And so that was the preemptor for them to call on us.
That all-female band. Because see, the all-female band thing, I know you weren't part of that. I think LaShawn was when Keaton had his show. He had the all-female group band. Okay, so now you're doing a High Five. What else you do? Any other groups you played for out there?
Crystal Waters was the next big venture that we did. And again, it was just through networking. Andres had seen an ad, the Crystal Waters, and she's from DC and worked. And she had put an ad out, I think, in the city paper or something, that she needed a band to perform with her overseas. And so we heeded the call for YP. We were still together. And in the middle of all of the different tours we did, we still worked. We still...
you still work?
We still worked our jobs. Because you just work it out. You talk to your employer, you work it out. I think I was temping at some point.
Yeah, I remember them days.
And what was I saying? Oh, and we also played locally for YP.
Right.
And we didn't do go-go. We said we're just going to do R&B. Right. So we would play in Germantown or, we just kind of opened the gates.
Really? I didn't know that. Okay.
We opened the gates and we said, let's try different things. We were in the studio writing, just trying to break into the business,
right,
and trying to stay together, trying to keep that all-female band, that unit, that whole idea going.
Okay.
And Crystal Waters, we performed with her in Japan for like maybe a 2-week run, and that was phenomenal. And I think that's all we did with her.
Okay.
Yeah, because she just hired us for that particular tour.
I know what I want to ask you. All right, this whole thing when y'all hit Arsenio Hall, right? Was this your first time on TV?
Yes, it was. And that was
How does that feel? Yeah.
It was nerve-wracking. It was like, oh my gosh, that's when you want to be shy again. That's when you want to kind of be that introvert and say, I'm going back in my shell. What did I do? Like, but you know how it says that you get what you ask for?
Right.
We had the moment of a lifetime. I mean, they literally picked us up in a limo. We had our makeup and our hair done. I got to meet Star, who was the wonderful keyboard player. She was a white girl.
Oh,
and she was a keyboard player. I have a picture with her. And just being on the LA Hollywood scene at a young age, I might have been 19, 20, 21, somewhere around there. It was just very empowering. Like, how did I end up here? Like, who would have ever thought that allowing myself to continue to do music and do it on a professional level, and allowing myself to, because every time I did these traveling opportunities, I had to tell somebody no. I had to say, I'm not coming to work. I had to say, school's on hold, and making those decisions it's really, your gut is like, oh my God, what am I doing? You think about that paycheck every 2 weeks and you're like, what am I doing? But being in LA, being on the scene, walking down Hollywood Boulevard and just hanging out after the taping was just phenomenal. And then we didn't meet, Arsenio did not interview us. He interviewed Salt, Peppa, and Spinderella.
Right.
But when we went back again with High Five, we were able to talk to him and meet him. And he was very, very impressed with the fact that we were from DC. And that was our second time.
Oh, okay. And he knew that was your second time there? Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. All right. Any other artists you play with?
Yeah, we've had the opportunity as Be'la Dona to support many artists like Chrisette Michele, Vivian Green. We've supported Chico DeBarge, a myriad of folk that you can't even, after a while, you can't remember, because Melanie Fiona, she came here and we did Black Girls Rock. We supported Erykah Badu. That was a big deal out at Black Girls Rock, LA.
Now, there's a video of that one out.
Yeah, it's a video. It's a lot of YouTube footage. Yeah. Back in the day when I was performing on the international scene, I had the awesome privilege of opening for, who at the time I loved him, Alexander O'Neal. I used to love his music. I got to meet him. Like I said, when we were working with High Five, we met R. Kelly. So it's been so many people that I've had the privilege to know, to meet for a second, Freddie Jackson, or just people that we have like continued to communicate with here and there. And one thing that it does, it makes you say, wow, I'm literally on this scene that everybody doesn't get a chance to be a part of. Like I'm up here with the people that are really making some waves. Okay. And when the tours stopped, like after Crystal Waters, that's when I said, okay, I need to finish my degree. I started out getting my business degree. I'm gonna finish it. So that's what I did. I just went back to work. I was working in healthcare at the time, and I got my degree part-time.
And you stayed here?
Yeah, I stayed in DC.
You stayed in
I went to Bowie State, graduated from there.
Okay. All right, my mama. Okay, now we're gonna bring it up to today. Right now, you're playing with another all-female group. I mean, that's been your whole career. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Without a doubt, your dash is phenomenal.
Thank you.
And so you're with Be'la Dona now, who's a phenomenal group. Even play over here around the corner, every Thursday. And so how did that pick up? When because you stay, it seemed like you're working more now, even just like you were when you were on tour. Because
work never stops, Kato.
I'm talking about musically. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about musically.
What I'm trying to tell you is that no matter how you might try to separate yourself or try to do something different, you keep getting called. If it's your calling, if it's your purpose or your passion, you're always going to get thrown into opportunities. And that's exactly what happened with Be'la Dona. I actually was not a part of the original group. And I give a shout out to Deanna Hawkins.
Right, yeah.
I give a shout out to Heather. And I give a shout out to Kendra Rutledge. They were three of the pioneers that started Be'la Dona, the founding members. And what happened was I was subbing for Lady Rhythm, which was the group that Cherie and Denise was the drummer who put Lady Rhythm together. And Denise and I were in two bands together, Six, and then we were in Rejuvenation, her gospel group. So everybody has a group and they would call me. But I couldn't do Lady Rhythm full time, but I did because I was married and having babies. Right. But I did sub, and it just went from there. From me stubbing with Lady Rhythm, then they started Be'la Dona, and I had met Shannon Brown at the time, the drummer. She and I were doing gospel hits together. We were doing Women's Days. Drummer, yeah, she's a phenomenal drummer. So we were working together, and she mentioned, "Oh yeah, we're starting this band." And I said, "Wow, that's awesome." And so, long story short, when some of the founding members decided to part ways, I was already there subbing. Okay. Because I know Deanna, she was doing some major stuff with Music Soul Child, and everybody always has other things going on. And so they, Cherie and John were like, "We need you." Like, they literally were like, "We need you." And I really honestly I thought that I was done with all female bands. Not to say that it was anything wrong with it or that, but I just felt like, again, when you want to reinvent the wheel and do something else, I had the opportunity to be a full-time musician. Well, once I graduated from Bowie, that's when I started my website, started my business. I said, okay, I'm going to make my music my craft, and it's a business. And people would say, "Well, what are you selling?" I'm selling my music. Like, people don't understand. I'm selling the fact that I play keyboards. Right. So people can hire me for events, whatever. And so during that time, like from 2003 to 2009, I had a chance to play with all different kinds of people. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to not be under the lock of playing with one band exclusively. Right. Because that's what I had done. I had gone from this band to that band, and I was very loyal. So I said, you know what? I want to be a freelance musician. Okay. And that's what I did. And then they called me, and I was...
Can you name me a person who has had tremendous impact on you musically? Or maybe somebody who's been a mentor towards you? I know you mentioned earlier Mr. Brooks.
Yes. I would say there were several mentors. I would say that as far as music and musicians, there's so many musicians that I, love to hear. Brian McKnight was one, George Duke, just a lot of very talented keyboard players. Right. But I would say as far as a role model and a mentor, my mom died when I was a teenager. She died from cancer when I was like 15 or 16. So I kind of lacked that motherly influence. Right. And my dad, great person, and he's still living and doing well. Right. But I was always sent women who took me under their wings and grounded me and, told me things and taught me good and bad. Okay. And I would really have to say Shirley Lee. This is a lady who was kind of sort of like a mother figure, and I worked with her. I worked at the Washington Hospital Center for 13 years. Okay. And she really took me under her wings and just helped me, just kept me grounded and instilled in me, I like when people tell me the truth. Right. I like when people are coming at me not from like a do this, do that, but don't do this. You know what I mean? Right. Like, she was just very real, very honest with her life. Crazy, but very honest. And she, I would say, was the best role model and mentor that I had.
Musically, what would you say is the biggest misconception about being an artist or musician?
Musically. There are many misconceptions, but I think the biggest misconception, and a lot of times it comes from women musicians, is that women can't play as good or as well as men. I think that's the biggest misconception. I think that society says it, women say it, oh, I gotta try to hit hard like a man, you know. And to me, it's not about the gender, it's about the person.
Right.
It's about the commitment, it's about the passion. To me, you can find the most phenomenal female musician because she has honed her craft and she's serious about what she does. She practices, she prays, she's disciplined, whatever it is that she does, versus, oh, he's a guy, so I know he's going to hit hard on drums, or I know he's going to just thump that bass, or I know he's going to, be all over the organ because I have been disappointed when I thought somebody was going to do something.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. And it's not a gender thing.
No, I know. It's
a musician thing.
It's a musician doing your homework thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Then this sparked it. I'm glad that we came here and you brought that up. Because right now, if you look at, I guess, social media, you look at whatever, what's happening right now, there seem to be, every time you turn around there's some kind of, how can I say it, some kind of sexual misconduct going on, within the entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. It's happening right now, I guess, in politics and I guess Hollywood. Mm-hmm. But we know that music hasn't been immune to that. And I just want to ask your opinion, a point of view as a woman, mm-hmm. especially coming up in this whole game as a woman. You playing in an all-woman group, backing up, women rappers and everything. So all of you, that whole misconception thing, all play into it, as well as maybe sexual advances, where it's almost to the point where it's almost like, is that the way the game is out here? Is that really the game out here?
I had a feeling you were going to ask me about this, so I kind of thought about it. I don't know
I didn't
why.
come expecting the answer. But
it's just something that's going on right now. And my personal thought is that everything that's done in the dark comes out in the light. And I don't think that every person is guilty that has been charged with things. Right. But I believe that there has been a lot of male dominance in society from way back to now. Right. Male dominance being, I'm going to use my influence because I'm in this position and you're here and you're trying to get there, that you have to sleep your way up. Right. Or you have to do something other than just do your job very well. And I'm glad you asked that question because I've prided myself on keeping my reputation clean. Okay. When I do my work and then I go home. I try to stay out of the whole, gossip. It's not easy because people will put you where you don't want to be put. Yeah. But you have to be grounded first. You have to be strong in who you are. You got to know who you are. You have to know what you will and will not do. In my early years of touring, there were a lot of things going on that I decided not to partake in because that was just embedded in me. Right. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. This is how I was born and this is how I was raised. And I believe that you have to make decisions that best reflect you. So whether that's a man or whether that's a woman, make a decision that you can deal with the consequences later on. Okay.
What would you say would be the biggest challenge for the generation of women coming behind you?
Oh boy, that's a really good question. The biggest challenge is to not sell out to what society wants you to be. To know that you are worth just diamonds, you're worth platinum, gold, everything that is way up here, you're worth that without having to sell your soul. You're worth that without having to totally be all put together. I think that there's so much emphasis. There's too much emphasis placed on looks. And while I definitely, pull myself together and I have beautiful. To, thank you. And I have to when I'm on stage, I feel like nothing beats natural beauty. Right. And natural beauty comes from within. It comes from your heart. It comes from the the ideals you possess. It comes from what you do and what you won't do, your choices, who you hang with, who you won't hang with, what statements you make without talking.
Right.
What is the statement that you make when people are looking? Because one thing I know, people look at you and watch you when you least expect. And they're waiting for you to slip up so they can go back. I work for church. So I'm a minister of music.
At 2 churches, right?
Yeah, well, one church I'm a minister of music, and the other one I'm a director of a choir. But it's a big responsibility.
Right.
And with the responsibility comes people are watching you.
Okay.
They are looking on Facebook and social media, and they're looking beyond that. And I'm not saying that they're setting you up to fail, but they want to make sure you're representing you and you're representing the church.
And they won't hesitate to cut you down if you know.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Actually, think about go-go. Well, you can actually answer both. In music in general, but in go-go, what's the difference between go-go of yesterday when we were kids and we were playing? And when I say kids, I don't mean, and we were like in our late teens, early 20s, and today. Have you noticed a difference?
I have. I one thing that I notice is that it's okay to be unique more so now than ever before. Unique meaning with your sound and creating your sound and being diverse and not fitting into a mold that was set. Like go-go does have a specific sound, okay? And that cannot be violated. You know, the percussion, the crank, all of that. But it's more so now where you don't need 20 people on stage. Right. Where you don't have to have a horn section. You can or you can't. You can make it yours. You can actually say, okay, this is what I want to be, whether it's a bounce beat band or, you know, if you want to be more of a, it's just so many different like ways you can express yourself now in go-go. It's more versatile and it's more personal. Right. And I don't think you have to copycat. You don't have to try to be the next Chuck or next Benny or the next Trouble Funk. Right.
What do you have to say about critics who complain about too many covers? That was just one that popped in my head because somebody gonna say he should have asked that.
Covers is all we know.
Okay.
Covers. I mean, I agree that go-go has long since needed to do more, and I know that Tom, the manager for Chuck, has really tried to push that on. Yeah. Challenge.
By the way, I like that joint y'all did.
Thank you. Nightfall.
Nightfall. That's one of my favorites. Yeah.
And see, that's something that as artists, that's what we know because that's what we started learning, covers. Even when I started playing classical music. I learned Bach and Beethoven and Mozart, and those are covers. Right. That's somebody else's material that they wrote. So, you know, you don't want to, and I've been there before. I've played that whole, I want to play original music and I don't want to do covers. But covers is really what creates your sound and creates your style.
Well, just input my opinion on it. I personally think that people are saying that because, one, I think they're defending it because outsiders throw that at them. So it's like, okay, you know, give me some support here. Yeah. Give me some backup so I can have something to... It's like somebody trying to debate the Bible. If they don't know the Bible, they can't debate it. But give me something to stand on because they killing us here and we trying to represent you. It's like being a Redskin fan, you know. I love you guys, but come on, give me something, you know. At any rate, next question is... my last question I'm going to ask, all right? And I like to ask this to different people all the time. If you had only 5 minutes left on this earth to perform one song that could leave a great impact on the world today, what song would that be and why did you choose that piece?
Wow. I usually go with my first instinct, and the song that really has meant a lot to me in my life is Total Praise by Richard Smallwood.
Richard Small. Okay.
To me, that song is just all about praising and worshiping God, and He is our creator, and He's the reason why we're here. And the foundation of it all is Him. So that would be the song I would play.
All right. First of all, we have up here a couple of samples of what we're going to talk about right now. and I wanted to you to explain that to me. If you notice in the beginning the episode, I brought up the nickname Kool Keys, and we bring that up in many ways because you have a business called Kool Keys, right?
Yes.
Correct. Can you tell me about this Kool Keys business?
I started my business called Kool Keys Concepts back in 2003, right after I finished graduating from college. And at the time, I was just venturing into selling music. But then as of late, maybe the past year or two, I started really embarking on what else can I sell? What else can I do? What else as a business entrepreneur can I open up avenues, other than music? It's great to sell music and, your fingers get tired and then you're like, okay, what can be a part of my legacy?
Okay.
And so the vision came to me to start a t-shirt line. I eventually would like to have a clothing line. And I was like, well, what can I put on the t-shirts? And I said, well, Kool Keys. It's a name that's, it pretty much encaptures me. It's different. It's unique. And my son actually designed this logo. I had my son to, he's very graphically blessed, and very creative. And he's 13, and he designed this logo, which is the logo that I have for my website. And my website is www.koolkeys88.com.
Kool Keys, cool spelled with a K, and we'll make sure.
Cool with a K.
Kool Keys
88. And my shirts, I have male and female shirts. And they have my signature lips. I explained to Kato
she
that
got gorgeous lips.
It's not a female thing. It's you're carrying a kiss above your heart.
So this shirt, basically, when a person gets this shirt, they're also getting a kiss from you for buying the shirt.
Yeah, kind of. That's the something different.
It's slick. I like that.
They're carrying a little bit of Kool Keys with them.
Yeah.
It's also about branding. It's also about marketing. It's also about having something to sell that will ultimately make your name recognizable or brand. I want to be a household name.
Okay.
Like we buy Polo, we buy Gucci, we buy Guess, we buy Michael Kors. He started somewhere.
That's true. They started somewhere. So are these the only? Just what colors they come in? These are only two styles, just that and the one you see.
And I have different styles. I have different styles for men and women.
Okay.
I have also this is a women's shirt. Usually I have pretty much any
that's
color.
Different. That's different.
So this has a keyboard on it.
Right.
So it's just different, really nice t-shirts, and I'm going to expand to some other things. I'm working on them right now. I'm going to expand to some other,
like what?
clothing.
Okay.
Yeah. Just different things that people may buy that would say, okay, this is something unique. This is something that Kool Keys, who's a Black entrepreneur, a businesswoman out of DC, she's a keyboard player. You don't find, I found coming up that I wanted to buy paraphernalia with music stuff on it, piano stuff, and you can't find it too much. So I wanted to create my own line of musical paraphernalia.
And you launched that when?
I launched this last year, and I've been very successful. It was a year in August that I launched it, and it took time because I had to go about it the right way, get everything done, set up trademark and website. I had to kind of get my website done over, and thanks to Alan Merritt, who's a very good friend of mine, who designed my website. But it's a process that takes time, and what I would tell people, if you are starting a business or if you're thinking about starting a business, write down your ideas, but keep at it. Don't give up easily because it takes time.
Right. Okay. All right. And so you got this business going, right? So now that's something else for young people just looking up to you to look up and be inspired by. So what's some good words for them as far as launching that business thing? You already said that you always been boss minded to run your own business or be the leader of what? Which I strongly believe every single person should be boss and leader, some kind of thing that they're doing. Any words towards that as far as talking Talking to the camera, talking to the young people.
Young people, the time is now. Like, you have to create your legacy now. I remember when I was at my grandmother's funeral, and she lived to be like 96, and they read this poem called The Dash, and it made me burst into tears because they talked about what are you going to do between your dash. And I had already done some things, and I was very proud of what I had done, but never say that you've arrived. Never feel like I'm successful and I don't need to do any more. Keep working and keep striving, keep building. Like, make sure that your legacy, once you die and you leave this earth, that people are pulling catalogs like how Prince was, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not anywhere near that, but what I'm saying is have different things, different people that you touch. Don't limit yourself to one or two things. You know, if I limited myself to just playing piano, which is where I started out, I wouldn't be playing in church and directing, and I wouldn't be doing all of the things that I've branched out to do.
Right.
But and also believe in yourself. Don't let the naysayers or the people around you that say, oh, well, what do you know about doing this? Or, you know, a lot of times nowadays people brand themselves as, you know, there's a lot of YouTube and a lot of Instagram stars, and they brand themselves as I'm the cook or I'm the whatever. I think that's good. I think that you should claim it. Study up on it. Research. I always say research. Don't just put yourself out there. Research. Align yourself with people who are higher than you that can pull you to where they are. And always have a teacher. Yeah. Don't be that person that's trying to do something and you don't have anybody.
All right. Quick, just for fun. Fill in these blanks and finish this sentence. Okay? And this is all you. Without music, I would be...
void.
Okay. Music is...
my life.
Music makes me feel...
special.
Okay. I write the songs because...
I live the song.
Support music because...
music matters.
Okay. All right.
I like that.
Appreciate that. All right.